All right. I guess I'm gonna get this kicked on. Oh yeah, man! Look at all his work. Oh. Put my ears on. All right. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah. All right. Whoa. So here I am. Finally doing this podcast of podcasts that basically has been somewhat on my mind, some awful as of late. The infamous COVID vaccination debacle and all of that. Now, I'd like to first off say that I'm not going to confirm nor deny my status. Yeah. Trying to work on getting me connected to Instagram as well. In the meantime, still not working. Still haven't been offered any work. And so I'm still wide open for any donations of any sort to my Cash App. You'll see it in the thing. And so you know, the phrase that really sticks out the most here is kind of like that "my body, my choice." Only not if there's a pandemic, and not by public scrutiny or whatnot, which really is getting my goat as well. And yeah. So I'm throwing all of this up just because, well, okay. Here I'm gonna try to set up my okay. So I think I'm about right where I need to be. My lighting is kind of messed up, but I'm gonna have to purchase another brighter light of some sort at one point or another, but this will have to do. See if I can turn this up any. It's perfect in the other thing, but it's not for this right here, and I'll make that do. So here I am, and talking about this. I'm hoping that somebody on one of these channels will at least find a little love enough to just go ahead and make a some form of at least some form of comment, so that I'll know that those are working on at least that portion of it. I'm not really sure if I'm working here on Instagram. It's acting all kind of awkward. So I'm not really sure if I am or not, and I'm just going to go with it. So my issue is an issue that everybody else has been having lately, and that's this whole vaccine thing. Now, first and foremost, I'd like to say that I'm not going to confirm nor deny my status because I believe that that's personal information that no one really honestly deserves to have outside of people that are directly in need of knowing, be those employers or healthcare workers type things or something. And, you know, I've been having this issue. I've been having this issue with that as well. You know, this current mentality that people are having for their own decision of my body, my choice, unless it's the vaccine, unless it's this situation. And yet, with everything that we know that this vaccine will help us to not necessarily have extreme effects from catching the virus when and if you catch it. It doesn't make us immune to it. It doesn't make us immune to being capable of doesn't make us immune to being capable of catching it. And I don't know what the hell is going on with my Instagram. All right. And that really sucks because you know, this is all experimental thing. And while, you know, people have gotten to a point where after a year and some change of being sat down, a lot of us are really fed up. They're ready to get back to work. They really need to get back there. And so they just want us all to just jump right in there and dive right in and take this experimental thing. And even though there are small, minute chances, they say, that you can have any adverse effects like blood clotting or heart attacks or many of the other adverse reactions that, you know, seem to be reported in very small doses. And yet I find it very awkward when people say you can't come back to work unless you show us that you have your vaccine up to date, and yet the vaccine only protects you. It doesn't protect the people you're working with. Anyone can catch it. We've had many of gigs and works and things and events that have been having that have resulted in someone coming down with it in a fully vaccinated crew on a fully vaccinated set. Still, there have been people that have had it, and yet you know, one of the true things is, you know, this whole concept of masking and really honestly just, you know, being more careful. We've had less reports of flu than we've had of COVID. And yet here we are dealing with this COVID thing and all these people that are running around. If you don't get vaxxed, you know, then you're going to hurt everyone else. And that's really not that true. You know, just because you have a vaccine doesn't mean that you're going to, you know, not give it to someone. You're not going to catch it. And therefore, for people to demand that, they're not doing that with the conditions of, okay, so if we all show up and we're all vaccinated and we go to work, and then all of a sudden we come back the next day and they say there's a work stoppage because a couple of the people have caught the vaccine and we're all vaccinated and this has happened. And we have to have a work stoppage because our principals are sick, or you're out and about and one of your coworkers or whatnot comes down with it, and you find out that you have to quarantine, or you've been told you may have to quarantine because you've been in close proximity with it. Who then takes care of our quarantine arrangements? Do they pay us for the 2 weeks that we have to quarantine? The Do they take care of our medical just in case that does come down to that? And then what about these antibodies? When you catch the COVID now, they've got these antibodies and they're coming out with new, better ones as we speak, where when you catch the virus, they give you these antibodies that in fact do the same thing that they're saying that these vaccines are supposed to be doing. So it really boggles my mind why it is that people are making it so mandatory that you have to take this. And okay, I'm not really trying to argue or be an anti-vaxxer, because I'm not. I really truly believe that more people need to get this vaccine, just like, more people need to really be more cautious of, how they infect other people and whatnot. And yet, what really irks me the most is just the mere fact that in the process of all of this, I don't know why God damn it, is it not doing what it's not doing? No, it's not. You suck. Yeah, my Instagram is messing up. Go figure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to fix this, so y'all forgive me. Oh. Yeah. So, for many of you who are unaware of what's going on here, this is WNDC. This is WNDC in DC. And once again, I'll say it again. This is WNDC in DC. WNDC in DC stands for We in the Crib, and You Ain't in DC. And I'm coming to you speaking on this subject that a lot of people have been really honestly, barfing backwards and forwards with. And it's really been something that's been close to me, because I'd like to say first and foremost that I'm not going to confirm nor deny my status, because I believe that having to go around and prove you're vaccinated or whatnot is not anyone else's business but your personal business. It's not like, no one's telling them if you've got HIV or STDs or mono or anything else of that nature, and you can't demand those things or, require that they have those things taken care of before they show up to work, although those things are just as important per se, but it's personal information. Everybody wants to know, be in your business, but at what cost? Now, this big hoopla that's been going on with everybody talking about how, you got to get this vaccine. You got to get this vaccine. I see why we had to get this, because it at least assures people that we're being more cautious. Hey, JC, that we're being more cautious about actually transmitting and receiving this virus thing. But what really gets me is that this virus doesn't make you immune to anything, and it doesn't cause any immunity to anyone else. So you can actually still be vaccinated and still catch it. You can still be vaccinated and you can still give it to someone else. And it doesn't, it slims the chances. It slims the chances. Well, lots of people don't catch many colds or any things of that nature, and they don't really have that problem. But yet this has been a mandatory thing. And what really gets me is the mandatory part of that, especially when it comes down to, hey dear, when it comes down to the difference between vaccines or, I'll just get the antibodies when and if I catch it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to kill everyone else and this, that, and the other. Doesn't mean that just because you don't have a vaccine that you're a walking, virus sponge just infecting everyone else. This is really not the way it works. But what gets me is the stigma of people that really honestly believe that just because I have it, then I don't have to wear a face mask and or because I don't have it, I need to wear a face mask and it's going to, but if I don't have it, then I'm an anti-vaxxer and you're the enemy and this, that, and the other. When you're sitting back and you're thinking to yourself and you're going, but that's not the way this really works. There's nothing worse than being told you have to do this, and what's been making it a lot harder for a lot more people that are out there still straddling the fence. It's just the mere fact that, first off, most people are not really big into this whole governmental thing. But when it gets to the point where the government is paying for everybody to get this stuff, and it's getting so bad that now people are paying for you to take the drug. And my issue is for a lot of us, a lot of people out there that have these preconceived issues that make them caution the after effects or whatnot that are possible by having these things, the blood clots, the heart attacks, the lack of reports from the amount of people that are out there, the carnal knowledge of understanding that, any other vaccine that has ever come out in the history of vaccines that have had any form of death rate and anyone receiving this vaccine has been more than enough to cut it off. And yet here we are taking these vaccines from these offenders who have all basically been given immunity, all for the sake of getting us back together. And I'm really down for getting us back out and whatnot. And, if we have to still wear masks, that's fine. Asia and all of that's been doing this for quite a long time. And, well, it's just something that we're just going to have to get used to. We're going to have to get used to washing our hands and trying to be less concerned about other people's health. Yeah. But when it comes down to the whole stigma of this whole vaccine thing, I'm really having an issue with being told that if you don't have it, you didn't work. If you don't have it, you can't come outside. If you don't have it, you can't be around people. And that just doesn't make sense to me, especially when a lot of people that have it are still contracting it, are still transmitting it. And yet our numbers are going down because we're being more cautious about this whole thing. And yes, but there's no immunity to all of this enough for someone to demand that if you don't have this, then you can't work. When in fact, that doesn't stop anyone from catching it or transmitting it. And yet these people will sit back and say, well, it's because of insurance reasons. And I'm going, okay, so are you willing to assure that if I get this doggone vaccine, regardless of how I survive it, if I get this vaccine and I go to work and all of a sudden the next day we come back in and someone has contracted it or whatnot and it causes a work stoppage, or you sitting back and you're working alongside of someone and they call in sick the next day or something like that because they've caught it or they got the symptoms, and then you're being told, hey, because you were working next to this person, because you were around this person, you need to quarantine for the next couple of weeks too. And whatever happened to this quarantine thing, I've been noticing how people have been traveling, and in the traveling kind of things, it says you go somewhere and then you're expected to stay and quarantine before you go out. And yet, people are going to Cancun and coming back from South America, going to Europe or Africa or something like that. And they instantly, right off the plane, woo, I'm vaccinated, this, that, and the other, and then they come back and they go jump right back out there. What happened to the mandatory quarantine thing that also came back there? See, this is really getting to a point where it's really making my butt itch with just the mere fact that, there's a whole lot of hypocritical situations that are going on here. The CDC 1 minute says one thing, and then now they're sitting back and they're saying, oh, we can use the honor program. Since when were we allowed to use the honor program in order to work? When are we allowed to use this honor program to basically go out and exist out here? And yet, now we're on the honor program. If you've been vaccinated, then you don't have to wear a mask. You could just go out around other people. And that's a whole lot of BS. And there's a whole lot of medical providers that are also saying the same. The masks are the one important thing that we all need to still be cognizant of when we're in close proximity with each other. And yet, once again, I'm going to state it again. I am not going to confirm nor deny my vaccine status due to the mere fact that I believe that it's personal information, personal health information that I don't believe everyone is in need of being aware of. And yet, how does that apply when you're walking down the street and there's someone without a mask and you have one or you don't have one? And you can't just walk up and say, excuse me, are you faking? Or did you get yours? Because technically speaking, even if you got yours, you still would have to be cognizant of how close you are sharing whatever they've got and you've got and all this stuff. But this mandatory thing, this telling people that you can't work, you can't do this, you can't do that if you don't have this. It's getting so bad that now they're giving away lotteries, and as a person of color or just American that have known, that, as long as we've been around, that when people give you stuff for free, you got to really question what's the catch. And yet, they say, well, the catch is, if you get it, then you'll be all right, and yet, you can't say that to some of the people who've died, some of the people who are getting the blood clot, some people are having a heart attack, some people are having adverse things, and we don't know what's down the whole line of that. But what we do know is the same thing that these vaccines are supposed to be made to do is to curb the extreme effects of what would happen if you caught it, as a reason for them to put it in your body. And yet now we have these antibodies where, when you get it, when you are diagnosed, when you're diagnosed with it, then all of a sudden they give you these antibodies, and these antibodies actually help curb the effects so that they're not extreme and you can survive it. And this is for something that's 97, 98% survivable anyway. Now, I know we're all really caught in a lot of the hysteria about it, but the other deep, dark issue with here is that anytime you question this, then you've got like authorities all down there. This is really awkward. I've had my own fears with how, I'll be affected by many of the things that are going on with it, and how, for many of the people who want to go out there and say, hey, man, just get the doggone vaccine. You're going, okay. You're telling me just get it. Okay, so what happens if I get it? I'm that 1% that happens to end up with the blood clots or the heart attack or something else of that nature, and I come to my demise all due to the effects or the after effects of something that doesn't really agree with me. It's in a vaccine or whatnot. I don't personally like having to subject, dead babies in my body, other people's DNA. I don't like, this, some of the ingredients that are in these vaccines and whatnot. I don't like the fact that you can't sue anybody if any of that messes with you. I don't like the fact that somebody's going to tell you that if you don't basically go and take some experimental thing and be a test puppet like everyone else, then you can't work alongside of us, when I don't trust them no more than I trust myself when it comes to, if you've got it and if you don't, and if you're going to transmit it. And for that reason, I wash my hands, I wear my mask, and I try to be as careful as possible. And yet you've got people out here that all of a sudden they take the vaccine and they're like, man, I ain't got to do nothing. And those are the people that I worry more about as well, because nothing makes you immune to this. And yet this hysteria is really causing a very big conflict, especially in the work scene now, with people that are like, if you're not vaccinated, you can't work for us, and you're like, well, but what is and then when you ask them, okay, so what is the stipulation behind why do I have to be vaccinated in order to work for you? And if they say, well, it's because if you're vaccine and everybody else is vaccine, then you're immune. You're not immune. You're not immune. You're not immune. Therein lies that issue, because everyone who said that, and I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to give you this, if I'm going to go out on a line and risk my body, my health, and whatever to basically be able to, conform to what it is that is being asked, then what is it that you're giving me? Are you going to give me, special treatment? Am I going to get paid if I'm out on a gig and all of a sudden I contracted, or I'm around someone who contracted, and then I have to then quarantine for 2 weeks? Are you going to pay me for those 2 weeks? Are you going to take care of me? You're going to make sure all of this stuff? No. And therefore, that makes it an issue. I mean, it's bad enough that now people it's going to get to a point where, for the last few holdouts that haven't gotten it, thing. They'll be getting everything from Super Bowl tickets to a new car. They're getting a full run of college. They're getting $3,000 just to get the same shot that many other people of America has already and done, and they got enough for it. And now these people are like, you want to, get this. You smoke crack. All of this doesn't really ride very well. And with that being said, I didn't plan on being here for a long time. But I do know, what I do know is that this subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about, a lot of people don't want to get into, because for a lot of people, they've already rather got it, or about to get it, or they don't want it, and they're being put into a situation where they should be prepared and not be capable of having to work anymore in the field if they don't get it. And that is just malarkey. And now they got people out here that are trying to fake it. I've had people back to, man, somebody get you in them cars for about $200. Like, when they put me on a CC, on the site or whatnot. I mean, because they're now trying to say in some atmosphere or whatnot, you had it, will actually cause you to be charged with like a felony. You can get up to 6 years and a couple of dollars or $1,000. So now I'm also here. I know that the subject is something that is very touchy because just the title of everything, I've also found it for the first time. Even my StreamYard, a couple of things in my stream and all this, they're all having transmission problems. They're still trying to, but all because we're not even supposed to talk about this. We're not even allowed to talk about this, openly, that has anything to do that maybe or possibly, they can sway anybody one way or another about this whole situation. It's a mandatory thing. Just go out and get it. Just shit, get it. And we're in a state reality around this world. That just don't sit right with a whole lot of people. It'd be okay if we had my body, my choice. It's a better thing, but that doesn't work when it comes to, this subject. And therein lies really where the rubber hits the road on this one, because, as logical as it sounds for people to say, what, I don't really trust this. The bottom line here is that one point or another, it will really actually come down to, people who don't have it having to go underground, people who do have it, going around trying to act like, you're an anti-vaxxer, get them. You don't have the mark. You don't have it. Where's your card? You can't travel without this. And and hey, Gary. And I'm really having an issue with that. Like I said, once again, I'd like to not confirm nor deny my vaccine status, just due to the mere fact that it's personal. I don't really believe that you need to know if I got my vaccination or not. I don't think that you need to know what my STD things are. You don't need to know what my personal things are. You don't need to know these things no more than I need to know those from you. But the CDC says we're all on the honor program now. And so the best thing is I will wear my mask, and I will try to be very cautious, making sure that I don't come around anybody when I'm sick. And I would hope that they do the same thing, as well as I wash my hands and, be very courteous, and how I, deal with other people. But the bottom line here is there's just so much that's still coming out. It just doesn't seem quite right. It just doesn't seem quite right that now, after 50% of the Americans and all of this has gone out, stood in the long lines and did this, and now there's short lines, and everybody and their mama's got all three the types of vaccines that's sitting out there just waiting to give it to you. It's already paid for. You got to do is go get it for free, and yet, people are still riding the fence, and they're riding the fence so hard that now I can see why some people are riding the fence, because now we're getting, good stuff for getting the shot. You can, go to the Super Bowl. You can get free airline tickets. You can go to the moon. You can get $1 million. You can, there's things, and just to get the same little shot that 50% of the Americans have already gotten out of fear, out of need and out of concern that we want to get back. And then at the same time, we've got people that are now being allowed to come back to the workforce only if they're vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you could probably be terminated. You can basically be blackballed from your industry and whatnot just because you don't feel comfortable about the stuff that they want you to put in your body for free. Because that my body, my choice doesn't really make any sense when it comes down to this, even though the same thing that this vaccinations do is the same thing that the antibodies do when you catch it, and then they give it to you in order to keep it from actually, being more severe. And, it's not about, oh, we got to get back to work. We have to get back to work. We could have been getting back to work a long time ago had we had better idea or better manners or whatnot. Everybody's believing that this vaccine is what's causing us to not have so many people or not so many cases. And yeah, there might be some truth to that, but it doesn't mean that any of those vaccines make anyone immune. They're pushing these things at people so fast and so hard and so furious now that, the concern for the possibility that you just might be that one that catches that lottery of having adverse effects doesn't really matter. They want you to just go ahead and do that. And so you got people that run up and tell somebody, just go do it. Just go do it. And you sit back there and we're not even thinking about the mere fact that you go tell somebody, go do it. And then they go do it. And then they die. They die. They die from heart attack or a blood clot or whatever adverse kind of reaction. And you're going to sit back and you be okay with that. That's the same blood on your hands. You want to say that, on your hands if you don't go and get that damn vaccine. You got to think about other people, and other people got to think about you too. And that's what's gotten us here. It wasn't the mere fact that all of us has gotten a vaccine. It's all because we've all basically sat back in quarantine. We've actually sat back and gotten better at knowing that we need to wash our hands. We need to wear masks. We need to be more cautious about other things. That's what's done more of it. And the mere fact that now we've got these antibodies and whatnot. So many of the people who catch it are given these things and they're surviving. This is still something that has a 99% survival rate, and yet here we are facing career-ending choices, life-ending choices. Me as an older person, I really don't have as much to worry about. But these youngins, I mean, by the time that, for many of the people who had peanut allergies, they found that the reason why people were coming up with peanut allergies was because there was a peanut-based portion that they were putting in the vaccines, and it was causing a lot of these children to all of a sudden have, peanut allergies. And yet we have no idea what's in all of this stuff. And I'm not really sweating all of that because, like I said, I'm going to confirm nor deny my vaccine status because it's my body, my choice, and it's my personal information. But what's really most important is just the mere fact that there just seems to be a lot more to this, and we can't fly forward and figure out what's going to happen. Find out if everybody who said that they got it didn't get it or got it. We don't even know if the zombie apocalypse is ever going to be a part of this whole situation. But what we do is that we're being told right now that the world is opening back up, allowed to come back out, and you can go to a concert if you're vaccinated. You can go to somewhere and do something if you're vaccinated. If you're vaccinated, you can come outside. If you're vaccinated, you can take off your mask. If you're vaccinated, you can
cough on anybody you want to. You can act any way you want to if you're vaccinated, and that's not true. If you're vaccinated, you have to still take the precautions of someone who doesn't have it. You know, if you're vaccinated, you can't sit around and say, well, I didn't give it to nobody. That just means that you might be safer if you catch it and whatnot. And some people sit back there and they want to argue, no, that's not right. I'm like, okay, so which one of these vaccines makes you totally immune to getting it or giving it to someone else? Just show us. We need to know. We need to know so we can take that choice a lot better. I mean, I've already made mine, even though I'm not confirming or denying, you know, if I got it or not, you know, because it's not your business, but it's everyone's business, you know, right now. Are you vaccinated? You know, now you're on the dating sites. Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm looking for this. I'm an NDIC. I'm a this, that, the other. You know, I'm bi, I'm poly, I'm gay, I'm this, that, the other. Oh, and I'm vaccinated. You know, yeah. This is some pretty deep shit right now. And what's really getting on a lot of people's last nerve is the mere fact that the more that it becomes more prevalent, that some people are not comfortable, some people are. We're already past 50%, and they're trying to push for this other 50% so hard that a lot of the people that got it last year, whatnot, probably wish that they would have waited it out if they knew that they can get the lottery on, you know, $1 million or tickets to the Super Bowl or, you know, free trip or a college education, a full ride. If you just get the shot, OMG. I mean, come on, man. How would you feel if you did something voluntarily only to find out 6, 8, 12 months later that you could have gotten a big screen TV? You could have got all kind of stuff if you just waited. I am Sir Easy, active dominant, Hafiz, stagehand, a lot of other things that I am to a lot of people out there. I am not confirming nor denying my vaccination status. I'm really honestly shocked that I've been not asked by a lot of those people out there officially, or it's been stated or proven to me why I have to, and even if I've done or not, because it should be a personal choice as to that. And yet, you know, now they're like, well, we need to know it. I'm like, well, if you need to know, your need to know is going to get me what? You feeling me? Probably not. Be well.